welcome back to another video. Today's video is a part 3 to my vampire shorts series. I didn't think I would make a third part, but I found more, and I had to. Will there be a fourth? I don't know. I didn't realize how much vampire shorts content there was until I went looking for it. And of course, me being me, when I find something that I'm like, oh, this is okay, I obsess, and so I had to watch all of them. So here is 6 more vampire shorts, and my rating of them, as I've done in the last 2 parts. I'll be rating them on acting, story, and vampireness. So let's get into it. The first one is Forbidden Desire, the Vampire CEO's Servant, which was on Stardust TV. This one actually was probably the best of the entire set of 6. Let me tell you, I actually really enjoyed this one. The basic premise is that this girl's father was trying to sell her off for money, because that's a common thing that happens in these for some reason. And he sold her to this CEO of I believe of their company, or a CEO of a company, basically to be his wife, so they could get some money. And so she is supposed to be his wife, but he doesn't really feel anything for her. So he suggests that they, are married, pretend to be husband and wife in public, but basically all she has to do is clean his house, so be his maid. And so, her first day, she accidentally cuts herself, and he kind of freaks out and just tells her, hey, don't bleed in this house. Do not trip, do not scratch, do not do anything to hurt yourself. And so she finds this a little odd, but pushes past it and starts cleaning. And she finds a coffin in his bedroom. Now, when I see a coffin in someone's bedroom, I'd instantly go vampire, but she did not. She just thought it was strange. So she cleaned his house, right? And they grow closer. And she cuts herself a few times and he breaks out. But eventually they fall in love with each other, as do. Eventually she finds out that he is a vampire. And this happens when she gets, I believe, kidnapped, which happens way too often. Gets hurt. He freaks out. She goes, why? What are you doing? And he's a vampire. But instead of running away, she doesn't really care that he's a vampire. She's not scared of him as most people would be. There's a lot of drama here and there, but eventually they grow fond of one another. And she doesn't care that he's a vampire. She still likes him. But then his maker comes back, and it's revealed that she turned him against his will, did not give him a choice, and basically he was her slave. And so he finally was having his own life, and he was falling in love with this girl, but his master was a little jealous and believed that he should love her, only her. So she, teams up with a vampire hunter who's also been around, trying to, slither his way in and separate the pair. So the two team up to try and get these two apart, because she wants him and he wants to kill the guy, and so they're kind of teaming up, this happens a few times where she tries to embed herself in their relationship. At one point, the girl even asks him to turn her into a vampire because she's jealous of the maker and just wants to be on the same level as him and wants to love him the way that he should be loved, and believes that the only way to do that is to be a vampire, which, it's kind of cute, but also, damn. But in the end, they go to meet the vampire hunter to basically tell him to stop. And he has control of the vampire maker. He figures out a way to poison her and basically make her a mindless slave. And he uses her to hurt the main vampire. There's a thing where if your maker dies, you die. A lot of vampire content does this. And so the vampire kills his maker because she is hurting his love. And after he kills his maker, he drops to the floor weak. But then the hunter threatens his girl. He gets up, kills the hunter, and then collapses again. He's laying there, about to die, and then she feeds him her blood for about 5 milliseconds, very quick. And then he wakes up and he's totally fine. And he yells her name, and it's revealed that he turned her into a vampire. And there was a rumor that if a vampire drank the blood of a human who offered it to them, they would become human again. That didn't happen. What happened is they were both they were vampires, but they were different. Like a hybrid type thing. But in the end, they lived happily ever after. Acting would be a 6 out of 10. As I've stated in the previous videos, a lot of the acting in these are mediocre at best. I mean, they have moments that are really well acted where I'm like, this was great, oh my god. And then there's moments where I'm like, what just happened? Some of it is the script, some of it is the actors themselves. Overall, the acting was pretty good, specifically between the two main actors. The side characters were not as good. The Van Helsing, Vampire Hunter, not my favorite, but not bad. Story-wise, I'd also give it probably a 6 out of 10. There was a beginning to end, a main story that made sense, but there were plot holes and things that were added in that didn't need to be there, and the ending fizzled out. It was not good at all. I mean, it led up to this moment where they were talking about it, like, oh my god, if she dies, you die. Like, it was a big thing. And then when he kills her, and he just has to drink his love's blood, and then he's fine. Like, if they were going to say that if the Maker dies, he dies, then he should have died. Or they shouldn't have said it. But they basically played it off like it was nothing. And then the whole time they were also talking about how if a human offers their blood willingly, they become human again. Which, you know, would have, I mean, I'm not a big fan of vampires becoming human again in the end, just because I love vampires so much. But they could have at least done that. In the end, they just kind of were like, yeah, it's not real. We're still vampires. Oh, okay. Vampire-wise, I'd say it was a 7 out of 10. Now, there were maybe 3 bites throughout the entire show. There was one at the very end that lasted about 5 seconds. There was one done by his maker to, I believe, the main love interest's sister. That's how she got poisoned and mind controlled. And then he, like, nipped his love as well at one point. But what gets this such a high rating is the fact that there was so much angst in this. It was crazy. I love angsty vampires. They're literally my favorite thing on the planet. Any vampire goes, I don't want to hurt you, is my favorite. This had so much angst. She cut herself multiple times. He lost control and almost hurt her multiple times. He would, you know, oh my god, no, I can't. You know, and the chemistry between these two was actually there. A lot of these actors don't have chemistry, like you can't even feel it. These two, I actually felt it. I actually wanted them to get together, and so it wasn't too bad. It wasn't a 10 out of 10, but this one was actually pretty good. The next one was also on Stardust TV. This is My Vampire Bodyguard. I found this one on YouTube to start. The basic premise is this girl lost her father and her company that he had built. Her cousin basically stole it from her. She's lost everything. Her stake in the company. She might lose her house. She's basically losing everything. So she's at her father's grave saying, please give me a sign. Please help me. She turns around and there's a man on the ground in pain. And she's like, is this a sign? She takes him home, right? He's a vampire. She doesn't know this. So she brings him some food because obviously he was shivering, he was out in the rain, he was whatever, and she accidentally cut herself and he sucked on her finger. Like, not even a hello. Okay, bud. Shortly after this, her cousin comes in basically like, I'm taking your house, I'm taking everything that's yours, and she doesn't really want that, obviously. And so the vampire protects her, and they kind of make a contract deal where he will be her bodyguard. Now, he is the vampire king, or was. He was supposed to get married to his bonded one, his soulmate, but she actually did a spell to make it seem like she was his soulmate. She was not. And so just as they were about to, you know, tie the knot, she stabbed him, and then her and his brother pushed him off a cliff or something, and he was sent into our world, or whatever. And so he's trying to, you know, get his throne back and find his bonded one while he's protecting this girl, but he slowly falls in love with her. And there's a few moments where he, you know, hesitates or tries to bite her, but he doesn't. And, you know, there's business drama where, you know, she's trying to get ahead in the business and it's not working, and he's trying to help out as much as he can, protect her and help her get ahead and get what she wanted back. And at one point, they get attacked, and it's revealed that he's a vampire. She figures this out and goes, oh my god, right? And he kind of loses control and almost eats her. Doesn't, but makes out with her. She doesn't really like this very much. She runs off, right? And he's all heartbroken about it. But she gets over it, like, very fast. And then, like, is like, come and bite me, dude. All right. And so, you know, they kind of rekindle whatever relationship they're growing. And then she's kidnapped by his vampire brother, So that way he comes back and basically be like, I'm gonna kill your love. You can never be king. And a fight ensues, and she gets hurt, so he's forced to turn her into a vampire. And he becomes king again, she becomes his love, and they live happily ever after. Acting was a 4 out of 10. The main actor in this short was also the main actor in my Vampire Wants Me Every Day. I think I did it in part 2. His acting is subpar. I don't know if it's the script or him. The main actress wasn't too bad, but a lot of these, it's just script-based. Like, the script is bad, so you're gonna have bad acting, even if the actors are doing their very best. The story was a 3 out of 10. It was not interesting. They tried to add some action in there. It didn't work. The very end went really, really fast, which a lot of these have an issue with, where it's really good until about 5 to 10 episodes to the end, and then they like speed everything up and it destroys itself. I don't know why any of these can't finish it correctly. They just can't. This was one of them. It was not good. Vampire stuff, I'd probably rate it a 5 out of 10. You know, there was some angsty moments, but there wasn't really any like bites between the pair. When he turned her, he just fed her his blood, like there was no biting involved, and she turned very quickly. You know, there was some fang shocks, some angst, but there wasn't enough to make me like, wow. It was kind of just meh. The next one is Vampire's Temptation, Alpha's Obsession. This one was on Real Short. It must have came out after I watched the original grouping on Real Short, because I didn't see this the first time I was on that app. But I thought I gave it another try, and there it was. This one, as it kind of states in the title, is a love triangle between a human, a vampire, and a werewolf. Basically, this girl is besties with a werewolf. She does not know he's a werewolf, but they're besties. And he's kind of in love with her, but I don't think she feels anything for him. So, she's just minding her own business when she runs into a vampire who's all hurt and shit. And he kisses her without asking. She slaps him, runs off, right? But he has his wound. He was cursed by a witch to be in immense pain. And the only way to solve that is to find his soulmate and basically kill them. Every time he would kiss his soulmate, he would like take some of their life force, and if they sacrifice themselves for him voluntarily, he'll be cured of this disease. So when he kisses her and it suddenly starts healing a little bit, he realizes he's found her and obviously wants to cure himself. So they run into each other a little while later. She's at this club, claims to be his wife in a fight. And so he shows up and be like, who said she's my wife? And he decides, why don't we just get married then? You know, you already told people we're married. Let's just get married. Contract marriage, we love it. And so she moves in with them and basically, I believe, becomes a maid for him. And he slowly uses her to cure himself. And I don't think she knows that it's killing her right away. But he is, you know, treating her well, but draining her life. When he finds out, you know, she doesn't really like this, and she tries to escape, which her vampire friend shows up. Her werewolf friend shows up. It is revealed he's a werewolf. She goes, holy crap, you're a werewolf this whole time? Right? But she goes back with the vampire, and there's kind of a back and forth between she's mine, she's mine, she's mine. And there's this girl who's in love with the vampire, who is jealous of her, there's always a jealous girl, always. And she poisons the main girl and kills her. Right, and so she dies. And the werewolf brings her back to life with his blood, which I didn't know was a thing could happen, but whatever. So she's brought back to life, but like she doesn't remember anything. And so she gets back into the vampire's life, becomes like a servant or whatever, but it's someone else. Same face, someone else, supposedly. He doesn't know. And so, you know, a lot of chaos ensues, and eventually she does something that really pisses him off, and so he asks the jealous vampire chick to deal with her, punish her. She, obviously, takes very much pride in this, so she takes her down to like a chamber, ties her up, hurts her, feeds on her, is planning to kill her, right? And then the vampire eventually finds out that it's the same girl, and goes, holy crap, that's my love, I can't, So he goes down there, stops the torture session, basically kills all the people that were hurting her, and then he has to turn her into a vampire to save her life, which is very quick, but he saves her life, and they live happily ever after. The acting was a 4 out of 10. The main actor in this was also the main actor in A Vampire's Remedy. I believe. He had the same condition where he had like a scar and she was healing him, which I just found interesting. It was basically like the same thing. He did it twice, cursed both times. Sucks to be that guy. But yeah, the acting was just kind of meh. The script was not good, and all the actors just were not good. The story was a 6 out of 10. I mean, it made sense, but there was a lot of stuff that didn't, and a lot of things that didn't need to be in there. And it was just like kind of like offshooting way too much to like be good. Vampire-wise, I'd also give it a 5 out of 10. There's some angst in there, but there's not a lot of biting going on. Even when he turns her, it's also very quick. There's not a lot to it. He just gives her blood, and then she's a vampire. I don't know why they didn't at least try to lengthen it out. Neither short that involved a turning scene lengthened it out or gave it a chance. It just kind of happened. But whatever, I guess. So it was just kind of like the whole show was just like a meh. But she ended up with the vampire in the end, so that was pretty cool. The next one is The Vampire and His Blood Wife, which I found on Dream Short. The basic premise of this is this girl is mistreated by her family, because of course she is. You know, she's trying to save up money, and her sister basically takes her money and treats her like shit, and her dad is gone, and she's alone. So she runs into a vampire who is hurt, and he attacks her, like really early on, bites her. And they spend the night together, right? But when they separate, for some reason, he completely forgets what she looks like. You got vampire sight, you should know what she looks like. So when he comes back the next day to try and find her, her sister claims to be her. And because the chick who was bitten can't remember much of what happened that night, he believes her. And so they go off and be in love, and, you know, she's taking what this girl wanted, right? And so there's this other vampire that's trying to get rid of him. And so he kind of teams up with her, like, hey, do this. We can kind of figure something out, plan it out, get rid of him. And, you know, the chick claims to be pregnant with his kid. If she is, I don't know if they ever state for sure that she is, but she claims to be pregnant with his kid, and so they're going to be, like, in love or whatever. But he starts to sense something's off, and the chick who was actually there is like, hey, that's not me. And at some point, he bites the girl who's faking it, and kind of realizes it's not the same girl. Like, wait, you taste different. You're not her. And so they come up with a plan because someone is trying to get rid of him, to fake his death, make everyone believe he was dead, so that way the bad guy could exclaim how much he's going to take, you know, over the company or whatever, and he can come back and be like, oh, I see. And so they fake it. And he does just that, and the sister is now with him because she's a gold digger. And, you know, he comes back and is like, still, I'm not dead. You tried to get rid of me. He's like, what? No, I would never get rid of you. And he's like, yes, he did. Here's the evidence, bro. He gets caught in a lie. He actually kills himself. Because he's going to be, like, sent off to be judged, and he's like, nah, man, I'm good. And it's revealed that the chick from that night is pregnant with his baby for reals, because they love to do it where they have sex one time and suddenly they have a baby, which obviously can happen, but it's like, it doesn't happen that often, guys. And they live happily ever after. Acting-wise, I'd give it a 5 out of 10. It was just meh overall. Some of the acting was good, some of the acting was bad, but it was just eh. Story-wise, I would probably give it like a 4. It was not a good story, and the main actor, though his acting was bad, was also just making me angry. The fact that he didn't recognize the girl he spent the night with. He's a vampire, right? Even if he doesn't have the memory of a god, he's got very good eyesight. So he should have recognized her, so this whole thing shouldn't have happened. But he was just being a dink the whole time. He was pissing me off. But the story didn't really make sense. The ending fizzled out. It was just not good. Vampire-wise, like a 5 out of 10. There was a bite really early on, and there was maybe, I think there was only one other one. And then a little angst, but really there wasn't a lot of vampire stuff going on. I mean, there were some fang shots and stuff like that, but nothing that really stood out to me like, this is amazing. It was kind of just like a, eh. Next up is Vampire's Forbidden Kiss, which I found on Vigaloo, something like that. The premise of this is this girl is in an orphanage, though she's clearly an adult, so I don't know why she was there, whether she was helping kids or whatever, but she was at an orphanage, right? And it's attacked by vampires. Everyone is killed, her best friend is kidnapped, she's left and is saved by a vampire. She is rescued, and but she doesn't know he's a vampire. And so she's like, hey, the orphanage was attacked by vampires. Like, you have to believe me, it was vampires. He believes her because obviously he's a vampire. But his father is cursed. Oh no. And he's set to marry this other girl, even though he's growing close to the orphanage girl. So there's drama there. But there is a man, his enemy, who he makes a deal with. If I give you the girl from the orphanage, you'll let me be the full CEO of my company. And give me what I deserve. And they kind of be like, all right, bet. Because the girl from the orphanage is a half vampire. And supposedly, if you drink the blood of a half vampire, you heal. If you drink all of it and kill her, you become, like, invincible, like a god. So they're trying to fight through this. And, if he drinks it, he can save his dad. It's kind of what he's thinking. They never specified if he would drink her blood or if his dad would. Regardless. So a bunch of fights ensue. It's revealed that her best friend, who was kidnapped by the evil vampire guy, is now a vampire and one of his servants. And so eventually, after some drama here and there that really wasn't needed, the half-vampire girl is kidnapped by her bestie and tied up and given to the evil vampire. The evil vampire plans to drink her blood and become invincible. The vampire that loves her shows up, tries to fight him off, and gets stabbed. She doesn't like this very much, and she starts freaking out. Her eyes start glowing, and she rips the ropes off, like suddenly vampire powers show up. And she goes to her man, offers her wrist to him, and he bites her. And then they fight between the evil vampire, and the evil vampire loses. She actually stabs him, and he loses. Her best friend does die. But she gets to live with her full vampire boyfriend in her half-vampire status, and they live happily ever after. Acting, 3 out of 10. Many of the actors were fine, but for some reason they decided to choose the main actor as a guy who did not clearly speak English as his first language. He had a thick accent, and he would say words wrong, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Not everyone has to speak perfect in English, but if you're going to have a story like this in English, it would just be nice to have someone who speaks the language, is fluent, or have him be in a drama where he can speak his language that he's fluent in, because it didn't sound good. It was broken English, and it just, took you out of the immersiveness of the story. Story-wise, a 5, because this also fizzled out. They defeated the evil vampire in the end. Cool. But his dad, it was mentioned multiple times, was cursed by the evil vampire, and that her blood could help heal him. But at the end, they never bring up his dad again. They never show his dad, his condition, if they healed him or not. It's just kind of like, oh, cursed dad, who cares? Never bring it up again. Ever, actually. And, there's just side things that don't make sense. They tried, and it didn't stick. Vampire-wise, I'd give it maybe a 5. There was 2 bites, technically 3. When she was originally rescued by the cute vampire, he attacked someone in the street to save her. The evil vampire attacked her bestie, Quinn, turned her into his servant, and then he bit the love interest at the very end on her wrist. But it lasted milliseconds. It's like, guys, if you're gonna have a bite like that, because there was angst leading up to it. She's like, please do it. I want to save you. And he's like, no, please. Have it last more than 5 milliseconds. Just saying. There wasn't a lot of angst in this one. It was kind of just like vampires were there, but they weren't a big thing. The final drama was My Forbidden Love with the Handsome Vampire, which I found on Archer Drama. In this one, this girl doesn't really have a wolf. She's a human in a werewolf pack and is kind of treated like garbage. So she finds a secret room and finds a chained-up coffin, which revealed there's a vampire in there. And they kiss and switch bodies for some reason, and then they kiss and switch back. I think this happens one other time, I don't know why that was in there, but why not? And so he takes her away and makes her his blood servant. And he was the Vampire King, but now his uncle's in charge. So he tries to take control again. But the uncle doesn't like that very much because he's been in control for a while and would like to keep the power. So they are, you know, she's pretending to be his servant, and they fall in love with one another. And she's actually possessed at one point, I believe, by her evil mother, demon style. And so she causes some chaos because I think someone dies. I think she kills someone while she's possessed. And eventually they get the ghost out of her, and he has to fight the chick's evil mom. And so they fight, and there's like this curse that's put on them. And it actually kills him. Did my camera die? Yes, it did. I'm so good at this. Am I gonna wait for it to charge? No, I'm not. Welcome to phone quality. Here we are. He attacks the evil witch mom. Kills him. He dies in her arms. And his love is like, no, you can't die. I love you. And she brings him back to life. I think she just kisses him or cries on him or something, but she saves him, and he's like, I'm alive, you saved me. And they live happily ever after. Happily ever after. Now, acting. Acting was a 3 out of 10. The acting was very bad, basically, with everybody involved, and the main actor was just bad. He just was not good. His acting was very dry. There wasn't a lot of motion in anything he was saying, and the script was not good. It was bad. The best acting the actor did the entire time was when they switched bodies at the very beginning of the show, and he was pretending to be a girl. That was literally the best acting the entire show. So it was just kind of subpar, meh. Story-wise, I mean, maybe like a 4. It wasn't very good. I don't know why she got possessed. She just did. The vampire uncle was there, but he wasn't really like a big thing. I mean, he was, but he wasn't. And it was just kind of like it was like this. And then when it got to the end, it did one of these. And it ended terribly. It fizzled out. Because of course it did. I mean, vampire-wise, maybe like a 5. I think there was 1 or 2 bites in the show. There was some angst. Not a lot of vampire stuff going on. I would have preferred more, obviously. But overall, meh. Which is my thoughts on basically all of these. Overall, all of these shorts were basically just meh. I only really liked one of them, and it was not perfect. None of these are perfect. They were all on apps that are basically carbon copies of one another with way too many ads. Way too many. I'm going to be taking a little bit of a break now because I have seen way too many of these. It is not good content. It's the kind of content where it's bad, but you can't stop watching. As I've stated, I think, in a previous video, they're not all terrible. Some of them are. But obviously, I had to watch them to the end to figure out what happened. I have a lot of gripes with basically every single one of these. A lot of them, their endings are just terrible. So if you hate content that has really bad endings, don't watch these. Don't watch these. If you want to give them a try, go ahead. Let me know what you think if you've seen any of these. Overall, nah. I am going to step back from the Vampire Shorts content for a little bit, hopefully, unless I find something that piques my interest. I was literally only going to do 2 parts because I had basically 2 parts written by the time I filmed the first one, but then I found a few more apps, and I found clips on YouTube, and I kind of just got sucked back in, and now we have a part 3. So there may be a part 4. I'm hoping not. Whew. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll be back again next week with another one. Alright guys, see you later.